Hey everybody, today I'm in McCordsville, Indiana, which is a really small town out in Hancock County to the east of Indianapolis and a little bit to the south of Fishers and Hamilton County to the north. So we're gonna just get into 3 reasons why this particular town is growing so fast. There's a lot of good reasons for its popularity, but we'll get into 3 reasons why people are attracted to this place, so stay tuned. Hey everybody, I'm Jason Compton with the Compton Home Group. Welcome back to the channel. If it's your first time to the channel, then make sure you hit that subscribe button if you want to learn everything there is to know about places like McCordsville, Indiana, Hancock County, Indiana, and of course Indianapolis and any of the surrounding metro. And make sure you also hit that little bell so you're notified every time we do a new video each and every week. Now we get calls and reach outs of all kinds from people all over the Indy metro and all over the country with questions about places like McCordsville, Indianapolis, and the entire surrounding Indianapolis metro. So if you have questions at all, then make sure that you reach out any way that you know how. We'll always have your back with those questions, and we've also got your back when it comes to your move to the Indy metro or within the Indy metro. So like I said, today I am in McCordsville, Indiana, which is a very small town in Hancock County. It's actually in northern Hancock County, a little south of Fishers and a little bit east of Indianapolis, and not necessarily Indianapolis itself, but actually Lawrence, Indiana, which is a separate town within Marion County on the east side of Indianapolis. Now McCordsville, Indiana, we're going to talk about 3 reasons why this place is attractive and why it's growing so much. And this video is being shot in 2020, and if we look just 20 years ago to around the year 2000, there's only about 1,000 people in McCordsville. And then we fast forward to 2010, and we're talking close to 5,000 or so. And now when we get up to 2020, it's close to 8,000. So while it's not a really big town at all, we can definitely see in the last 20 years that the growth here is actually exploding. Although it's a small explosion, it is exploding. So being a town of 8,000, you gotta wonder why in the world would anybody wanna move to a place like this? There really can't be all that much going on in McCordsville. And the truth is, there isn't a tremendous amount. I mean, it is definitely not a bustling suburb like some of the other ones around the Indy metro, but there's a little bit more here than what people might think. The place that I'm in right now, it's called Daniel's Vineyard, and it's up on the northwest side of McCordsville, really close to Geist Reservoir in the Geist district, and it is a super cool place. There's a lot to do here. There's a winery here. Obviously, you've got the vineyard behind me. And then the facility itself of Daniel's Vineyard, they host events like weddings and some big parties. They've got a pizza place on the inside where you can get some food, but they've also got, of course, their own wines and drinks, and they have live entertainment and all kinds of things that happen throughout the entire year. But this place is very popular for people on the east side, but it is in McCordsville, and I think there's actually even a lot of people in the Indy metro that don't know this place has a McCordsville address. But when you get a little bit further east and south of here, it gets a lot more sparse. Although Pendleton Pike, US 36, that comes straight out of Indianapolis through Lawrence and into McCordsville, it has a little bit going on as well. So there's a couple of individual type shops that run through there, and you could consider that kind of the downtown part of McCordsville, although if you were in that particular spot, you'd think it's pretty small and there isn't a whole lot there, and it's absolutely true. But what is there, you've got some uniqueness. You've got places to eat like the Grill and Kinsey's Italian Cafe, and then right along the tracks, you've got Tracks Barbecue, and then attached to that is one of my favorite places in the entire area. It's Scarlet Lane Brewing Company, and those 2 places are actually connected in the same building from one end to the other, and it's tucked away in the back, really hard to see, and a lot of people don't really know that it exists. But you got some really cool places like that in downtown, or just sort of the crowded part of McCordsville, which definitely isn't all that crowded. You've also got other places like Tim's Bakery, which you can get some great donuts and pastries, Second Stories Antiques. So several unique places that you can find along there. So then why are people making their way into McCordsville? Why has it gone from just roughly 1,000 people in 2000 to close to 8,000 people in 2020? and pushing above that as the next few years will go by. Well, number one, Hamilton County to the north, where Fishers is, it's getting crowded. Fishers has been one of the fastest growing suburbs, not just in the Indy Metro, but in this part of the country. So it's close to 100,000 people now. And some people are kind of getting crowded out of Fishers, or feel like it's getting more crowded. So when you go just a little bit to the south into McCordsville, you can start to spread out just a little bit more. And then off to the west, when you get into Lawrence and Indianapolis and Marion County, that of course is definitely more dense and more crowded. So you get people that think, I don't really want to live in Fishers, it's getting a little bit too busy for me, and I don't want to live in Indianapolis, and I don't want to live in Lawrence, so what are my options? Well, you have McCordsville situated right here, kind of sandwiched between them, or close to being sandwiched between them. So its location is really good, where it's very easy to get to Fishers. You just go straight up Oleo Road, you can go straight up Carroll Road, which is just to the entrance here of Daniel's Vineyard. And you go up Carroll Road, you're right there at Geist Reservoir, you can cross it and get right onto Fall Creek. And if you go north on Oleo, you'll go right across Geist Reservoir and you'll be right in Fishers. You don't even have to cross Geist Reservoir to be in Fishers. It's just there before you get to it on the northern edge of McCordsville. And then you can take US 36, Pendleton Pike, right down into Lawrence, right down into Indianapolis. All of that is really pretty close by and simple to get to. Now, as far as the crowds are concerned, when you're looking at how many people there are in a particular area, Fishers itself has about 2,400, 2,500 people per square mile, and Hamilton County in general, if you just look at the entire county, it's a little under 700 people per square mile, which that's not incredibly dense, but of course in Fishers it's going to be a lot more dense. If you get over into Marion County, like with Lawrence or Indianapolis, you're looking at 2,400, 2,500 people per square mile as well. But if you get into Hancock County, where McCordsville is, we're talking around 250 people per square mile. So it is absolutely a lot more spread out. Now, of course, in McCordsville itself, or any of the other towns or cities that you have in Hancock County, is really only one other city. You've got Greenfield, but you've got several other towns in Hancock County, and it's going to be a little bit more dense in those, but 250 people or so per square mile, that is very, very spread out. So that is one of the reasons why people are moving to McCordsville, to get away a little bit from that density and those crowds that you're going to find in Lawrence, Indianapolis, and Fishers very close by. And number two, when you get over into Hancock County, you're going to be outside of Hamilton County and outside of Marion County, so you're going to be in a different school district. And if you get into McCordsville, you'll very likely go to the Mount Vernon School District, which is actually a very highly rated. In fact, all the Hancock County schools are very highly rated, but the thing I think that makes them very attractive to people, because sometimes the ratings are a little subjective, whether they're high or low, it can be based on your individual experience, but the fact for Mount Vernon is that the high school is just not that big. It's about 1,400 students or so, which is much smaller than what you have at any of the Lawrence schools, Lawrence North or Lawrence Central, or any of the, for the most part, the Indianapolis schools that you get a little bit further to the west when you get into some of the other townships like Warren Township. And then you get to the north in Fishers and you get into Hamilton Southeastern schools, so Hamilton Southeastern High School, Fishers High School, they're all roughly in that 3,000 student range. So at Mount Vernon, you get a smaller school experience. Now, it's not as if any of those other schools are necessarily bad, especially when you get into Fishers and all of the Fisher schools. Very, very highly rated as well. And I've talked with many people that have had their kids go through Fishers, and they've had really good experiences. But I've had some, especially that live down on the east side, where you go to Fishers High School, and they know Mount Vernon is really close. They think, well, what would it have been like if we lived just a little bit outside of Fishers in the Mount Vernon School District, and our kids went there to a smaller school where they might have had maybe a little bit more opportunity. For example, if somebody their kids played baseball or softball, if you go to Fishers, the competition to be on those teams is going to be pretty intense. So you kind of have to be at the top in order to get those opportunities. If you go to Mount Vernon, the competition isn't going to be at least as deep. You just don't have as many kids going there. So they just wonder, would that have made a difference? Would they have liked that any better than maybe going to Fishers? It's hard to say, but the fact is that the Mount Vernon School District is certainly smaller than what you're going to find in some of the surrounding areas, and Some parents really do like that. All right, then the third reason that McCordsville has begun to grow quite fast, is that it's just flat out less expensive than Fishers. So you get a lot of people that want to live in Fishers, but the median home sale price in Fishers is well over $300,000. It's hard to get into Fishers under $300,000. Now it's doable, but the competition for those homes, especially if they're in really good condition, it is really, really intense. And when you get even under $400,000 in the 3 to 4 range, it can still be very intense with those homes, especially if they're in desirable locations and in great shape. Very competitive. But the median home sale price in McCordsville is roughly $250,000. Now that's not going to stay that way for long, because McCordsville, given that it's growing, they're putting in a lot of new construction neighborhoods, a lot of new homes. They're not exceptionally cheap homes in McCordsville. They are going to ratchet up as time goes on, but you can still get into McCordsville. In some older homes, there aren't a lot of older homes in McCordsville, because remember back in 2000 there were only 1,000 people here or so. So in the last 20 years there have been a lot of new construction to accommodate getting up to that 8,000 or so people that live here now. But it is still marginally cheaper. And you can also find, not just necessarily right in McCordsville, but you get outside of that in Hancock County, a little bit more space. So you might be able to find a property that has an acre or something close to an acre, something with a little bit more room and not so dense with people right on top of you. So certainly an attraction for people moving to McCordsville. So there you have it, 3 reasons why we've seen McCordsville go from basically one of the smallest towns, and not only in Hancock County, but kind of surrounding the entire Indy Metro, to a moderate size at this point. If you have any questions about it at all, or any of the surrounding metro, then don't hesitate to reach out any way that you know how. And until the next one, we'll see you later.